right, welcome back is this episode 13 already, Brad?
It is. It's episode 13, my man.
Holy shirts and pants. Well, hey, welcome to episode 13 of the Ryan Ripken Show. I'm Ryan Ripken. Got my co-host here, Brad Smith. We're going to jump right to it because a lot going on really quickly. Places to be, things to see, but we want to be consistent. We said 2 times a week. We meant what we said. We're a man of our word, Brad.
Yeah. Are you talking quietly intentionally?
Am I?
I feel like you're just like whispering to me. Like,
do you want me to whisper to you? You want me to amp it up a little bit?
I mean, I love you, bro, but maybe not like that.
Maybe that can turn into a segment, but we'll save that for a different time. But yeah, so anyway, for what we're going to do today, we're going to touch a little bit on the Orioles and the situation. Very close to clinching, just because we're following the Orioles, rooting for the Orioles, and we know we have a lot of people that are interested in the Baltimore Orioles. Then it's the NFL week. We're going to dive into week 3 NFL slate, game picks, going to break down some games. Plus, then we're going to talk about a couple situations and storylines that we think are good to talk about. I think that's pretty safe to say. A lot's going to be related to football, and then one's just I guess a vibe, we can call it, Brad.
We'll get into it. So if you guys didn't see the Mad Dog Russo game plan for this weekend, it's hilarious, and we're gonna react to that. So you're not gonna miss it if you didn't catch it this week. But bro, let's get into Oriole stuff. So you caught some flack this week about being on the Fuji train, and I gotta say it's unwarranted. I mean, we talked about it last week that Fuji didn't give a 1 earned run as of last Thursday, and between then and now, obviously it's been a little bit rough, his 2 outings, but for the whole month of September, he's still doing quite well. I'm not quite sure why people just don't like the guy. I get the inconsistencies are there, and sometimes he just is very streaky, but man, he's still an absolute stud, and he's going to be a difference maker in the playoffs, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, look, everyone, I told people this. Everyone can have their own opinion. Everyone can feel a certain type of way. I'm just not a guy that if they have downs, I'm not jumping ship. Right. And I think we understood going into it that Fujinami was trying to get comfortable and building up his confidence, because when he's on, the stuff's there. It's disgusting. It's unhittable to a point. But obviously, after maybe it was celebrating too hard, maybe it was hitting a wall, I don't know. But the last 2 outings for Fuji hasn't been good, but he had been very, very consistent and solid for his last outings, especially for the month of September. And September 21st, we're talking about 2 back-to-back outings where it was not ideal for Fuji. And actually, playing with Oakland, he faced the Astros before. There's some familiarity, but I think the point I wanted to talk about too, Brad, isn't it for the whole team? I just don't like where we jump from one thing to the next when things go wrong. This Baltimore Orioles team is still the best in the American League. There's still so many great things. And if Fuji isn't ready to be in the high leverage situations, then Hyde's not going to put him in there. But if he's in that spot, he's fully capable of doing it. And we'll find out. And the playoffs are going to be managed so much differently. But I'm not a guy that's going to jump ship. I haven't jumped ship on one person the entire year, because also if you're rooting for the guys, it's not worth to get caught up. Stay with them. Have the faith. It's going to work out.
I hear you on that, and maybe it's just I don't know how to describe it, but like I would say if I was going to be out on one person, it probably would be Flaherty. I don't know how confident I would feel about Flaherty starting a game right now. If playoffs started tomorrow, I'd feel very nervous about Flaherty starting a game. Let's just call a spade a spade. And maybe it's just like whatever, rut he's in right now. I'm not saying that he's a bad pitcher or, he deserves to, no longer have a job, but I certainly would be nervous starting him in a playoff situation if the playoffs would take place tomorrow.
And again, rightfully so. So for anyone that's saying, and this is what's going to happen in the postseason, you're going to narrow down who's going to be involved in the situations. You're going to, your starting rotation is also going to dwindle. You're going to have guys in different roles, and that's just the way it is. And you're going to see also if guys get in trouble, even your main guys, your top starters, so to speak, you're going to see the game managed differently because you're playing game to game essentially in the
Right.
playoff. So you will do by any means necessary. But just a quick note I wanted to touch on. I made this point or tweet the other day. But Jacob Webb's been sensational for the team since he came over, being claimed from the Angels. But even for him this month, he has a 5.19 ERA. But he's still a guy that you got to trust going out there, and he's shown it. He has the ability to go out there and pitch well. And then Ynier Cano's been unbelievable for the Orioles the entire season. He's had his ups and downs. Yep. And not you can look at it and go, well, Ryan, he has a sub-2 ERA. You're right. He's been spectacular, but it doesn't always paint the picture because of his months of September. He has a 5.68 ERA. So I'm not saying, and again, it's inflated by one outing, just like Fuji's 3-run outing against Houston's inflated. Anything can change in an instant. So I just love where the guys are. I think the bullpen's in a great position. And the Orioles just took 2 out of 3 from the Astros on the road. And now it's realistic, unless the Orioles fall apart and Tampa Bay doesn't lose, the Orioles are in a great position to be the number 1 seed, and everything runs through Baltimore.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's going to come down to the wire, I feel, with that, but it's certainly exciting. You already have a couple of divisions. I think the Twins just are 1 game away from taking the division. So great for those guys, but it's so crazy that how tight it is. So I'm super pumped for our division and just watching it all. It feels like every game right now is a playoff game that the Orioles are in. So I'm just excited about it. I think it's going to be great. And, you know, given how things have been, it's just, I don't want to say that fans are ungrateful, but like, it's just like, this is the most exciting year we've had in the last 10. So, you know, I'm really excited for what's to come here in the coming weeks. So I don't know what there is to really complain about. If we don't make the World Series this year, is it really a failure? In my opinion, I don't think it is. I still think it's an exciting season, and there's a lot to look forward to, especially with a lot of young players that we have that aren't going anywhere for years to come at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're in the dance. If you're the number 1 seed, whatever it's going to be, your goal is to win the World Series. If you don't make it to the World Series or win it, any team would be disappointed. And so I just want to, I just saw a thing about the fact they're playing down to teams at the end of the season kind of scares me. I don't know if they're playing down to teams. The last 2 teams they just played were the Tampa Bay Rays, the second best team in baseball, and the Houston Astros, the defending champ.
And they walloped the Astros, by the way. Like
they won 2 or 3 versus the Astros. Now I understand the Cardinals, but how about the Atlanta Braves? And we're going to talk about a team, if we're saying you're playing down or playing the theories here, James, is that the Atlanta Braves, the juggernaut of a team, is having their struggles.
Yeah.
They're trying to scratch and claw their way themselves. And I'm not saying, but no one's really talking about it in that way. I think the Orioles now only sit 2 games back of the Braves for the best record in all of baseball. The Braves have won 4 of their last 10.
Yeah.
You know, so, right. But I see what you mean, James. I meant from today moving forward, we'll find out, you know, but I think the part of it is, I think this Orioles team is motivated and committed, and they do have a barrier now. And also Tampa has to play Toronto 6 times. So they really are going to have to take care of Toronto to have a chance to catch the Orioles. And I really do believe this team is on a mission to have everything running through Baltimore. But it's not just the Orioles. It's whatever team, can you get to the dance? And if you're in the dance in the postseason, all bets are off.
Yeah.
All you can hope for is that your team is in it and you can have a chance to continue to play for a championship.
Yeah. Just look at last year's World Series, right? Nobody was really expecting those 2 teams to make it in, considering the records of who everybody thought was going to be in there. So anyway,
the Padres, I'll just say the Padres and Philly specifically, who you were talking about in the NLCS, wild card teams, and the Astros, right. The Astros are the Astros,
right?
Is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So just get it in to potentially win, and that's all you can ask for. All right, so let's get that covers baseball. We wanted to be quick about this. Let's get in the game picks. So this week is for football is kind of boring to me. There wasn't a game that I was like super excited to watch. But we're going to cover them anyway. Here, so I have all of them, including Monday Night Football. We're not going to predict Monday Night Football until Monday, but I put them up here anyway, just because it made it easier for Week 3 for us to cover these. So here's your teams that we're going to be seeing this week. Any of them stand out to you before we get into these picks? Because for me, it was really difficult.
The storyline with the Chargers and the Vikings, because it's two teams that had way higher expectations going into the season, and one of them is going to walk away more likely 0-3. Nothing really jumps off, but again, just the storylines of, I think probably from a competitive standpoint, I'm really curious about the Titans Browns we can get into, because I think it's just going to be an ugly game. Yeah. And what is Cleveland's offense going to look like without Nick Chubb, unfortunately? And, the Patriots and Jets, again, ugly game, but, the Pats are in uncharted waters if they lose again, or it'll be in uncharted waters in 20 some years if they start 0-3. So those would probably be the ones off the get go. But
yeah,
I know what you mean. Nothing's moving the needle.
Real quick, you talked about the Vikings game. Rob Gronkowski said that he feels that Kirk Cousins will be shipped out, and the tank for Caleb Williams would be on if they lose this week, which I feel like is kind of hilarious. There's been a lot of people talking about this, about how Kirk Cousins could go to the Jets, right? Like they can make a trade for the Jets. That to me makes zero sense whatsoever to me. The reason the Vikings are losing isn't because of Kirk Cousins. Guy's playing phenomenally well given the personnel that he has. It is that offensive line. The guy's always running for his life. Kirk Cousins is a phenomenal quarterback still. And, say for what you will, he struggles in primetime games or big, spotlight type games, but the guy still can play. And I don't think that the Vikings are going to blow up their entire team to go after Caleb Williams to try and start all over again and build a team around a rookie quarterback. So I just don't see it happening. And I don't think the Jets are going to bite on that either, especially because the Jets are still fully expecting Aaron Rodgers to come back. Makes zero sense to me to even take him on a rental. So that to me is just kind of like a bit of a joke. Those are my thoughts on the whole Kirk Cousins debacle.
I mean, hey, it just depends on how desperate they are. That's really what it's going to come down to. Yeah. But also, depending on what happens in that Lions-Falcons game and the Packers-Saints, the division leader in the NFC North could still be 1-2. So who knows? I'm with you. It's a slippery slope, and it's a good storyline. But
for sure,
I don't see it.
All right, getting into the games here. So first one we have is going to be here we go. First one is going to be Vikings Chargers. We just kind of touched on that. The spread here, or the Chargers are actually the underdogs here by 1.5 points. So Vikings are favored by 1.5. Total points here is 53.5. What do you think about this one?
Or the Vikings Chargers?
Yeah.
Well, look, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I'm thinking Chargers win this game because of the fact that I just think they have the better team. But man, can they not close? If they can't win this game and close out games, the season for them is going to slip away. And I do think they're the better complete team. I like what Justin Herbert's doing. I'm not sold on everything specifically with the Vikings on both sides of the ball. Yeah. I think they're a very solid team, but I just feel like the Chargers are the better one. So that I lean to the Chargers to find a way to win.
I'm taking the Vikings on this one. The Chargers are going to be in Minnesota. I just don't know. Talent-wise, look, on paper, the Chargers are the better team talent-wise. But as we've seen over the last 2 weeks, and even in the end of last year, the play calling has been absolutely atrocious. I think that Kirk Cousins and the Vikings can get on this. It's a flip-flop game. Could go either way. I'm going to take home field advantage, and I think that's why they're favored in the first place by 1.5 points. So I'm taking Vikings on that one. Next one is going to be Ravens Colts. We're going to be covering this one later in the show, but Ravens Colts, what do you got on this one?
It's got to be Baltimore. Now I think the number is 8.5 for the spread.
Yeah.
Don't
Huge.
know. I don't know how I feel about it on the big number, but I do feel that the Ravens, especially Anthony Richardson dealing with his concussion, what's going to happen there? Baltimore's at home. I feel like all the momentum's there, but I do think the Colts could put up a little bit better of a fight coming off a tough divisional game in Cincy, and looking ahead, Baltimore has 2 tough divisional games. So I think Ravens win, but could be closer for comfort.
I think that Ravens win too, and I agree with you on the spread there. The one thing that I thought was interesting, and granted, we have a small sample size, it's just the first 2 weeks, but yards allowed. The Colts defense, I think that we don't know fully exactly what they're capable of, but there's been some impressive numbers here. The first 2 games they played Houston and Jacksonville, they've haven't allowed more than 22 points. We'll see if the Ravens can score more than that this week, which they should, but they've allowed total 312 yards and 312 passing yards and 78 and a half rushing yards is what they've allowed over the last 2 weeks. That's pretty impressive, no matter how you shake it, no matter what teams they're facing. So this isn't going to be a walk in the park, even though it should be a convincing win, I would think, by the Ravens.
Yeah, I think. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I just want to say one thing. We'll get into it later, but the Colts, they are better prepared than I was expecting them to be. So it should be a tougher test and different staff, but the Ravens did struggle with Indianapolis a few years ago when it wasn't Baltimore, so you never know.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, we have Lions Falcons. The Lions are favored by 3 points. They're going to be playing so it's going to be Atlanta and Detroit. They're going to be playing the 1:00 game. Total points on that one is going to be 46.5.
Sounds about right. And contrasting styles here, by the way, as far as the Lions most likely are going to be without David Montgomery. And so Jared Goff has been airing it out, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is probably going to be questionable to play, their top wide receiver. Then you have the Falcons that all they want to do is really run the football, give the ball to Bijan Robinson, give the ball to Tyler Algier. I sneaky think this is going to be close. So I'm actually leaning Falcons because of their ability.
Wow.
You know what?
It's not, I mean, it's tough. They're only favored by 3.
Let me put it this way. I think the Falcons cover, Lions win the game. That's where I'm going to go with it. And where the biggest battle is going to be, Detroit has been extremely tough against the run the first 2 games. So that's where that cat and mouse game is going to be. Falcons' strength versus the Lions' strength of their defensive line. Who wins it will ultimately win the game.
Agreed. Atlanta gave up a lot of passing yards against Jordan Love and the Packers last week. And as you had mentioned, Detroit is stingy against the run. I'm taking Detroit on this one. I think it's going to be actually a pretty convincing win for those. There's just a lot of mismatches there, right? So I don't think that Jared Goff is going to blow the game in the last quarter, much like we saw from the Packers defense. I don't think the Lions defense is going to give up 3 touchdowns or what have you in the last quarter of the game. So that's going to be something to watch for. But I think that Lions win on this one pretty convincingly, even though that they're only favored by 3. All right, next up we have
Texans Jags.
Thank you. Texans Jags, and the spread there is 8.5. So Jaguars are favored by 8.5 points. I think that's a bit much, Ryan. I'm not saying that the Texans aren't this standout team, but we watched them firsthand when we were at the Ravens game together, and they're not that bad of a team. I think that there's a lot of bright spots here, and the Jaguars have yet to really have proven themselves as far as getting their act together. And what I mean by that is that they didn't have a stellar performance against the Chiefs. Now, granted, we talked about how the Chiefs defense is a different defense than what we've seen from the Chiefs in the past. But even with the even with the Colts, they didn't really have a convincing win, in my opinion, against the Colts either. So I don't think, it's a division game. 8.5 points just seems like an awful lot as far as the spread's concerned. I do think the Jaguars come away with this one, but I think it's closer than people might think.
Yeah, divisional games change everything. The biggest question is, can the Texans offensive line protect CJ Stroud? Because I'll tell you what, he looks like a guy that is a franchise quarterback through the first 2 weeks. Yes, they had to air it out a lot the last game against the Colts. They're playing from behind, but he's throwing with anticipation. He has a young receiving core, and Nico Collins now has really started to emerge as their top threat on offense. And CJ Stroud is looking comfortable. But if they struggle to run the football and they can't protect him, and that's been the challenge so far this year. But divisional games are weird. I think that I'm with you. Jaguars win the game, but 8.5, 9 points might be a little bit too rich in this matchup.
Yeah, I think so too. Next one we have is Bucks Eagles, and this is one. We just went from seeing the spread here with the Texans and Jags, and then looking at the spread with the Buccaneers versus the Eagles. That's interesting to me. The spread here, the Eagles are favored, obviously, but only by 4.5. So that to me, I don't know. That's going to be the Monday night game. We're going to touch on that one later, but like that to me was just a bit of a head scratcher. So the next one, since we're not going to call the Monday night games, is going to be KC and Chicago. We're going to get into a lot of the drama with Chicago later on in the show, but this one, it seems to be a bit of a no-brainer. Chicago just cannot seem to get it together. Justin Fields just doesn't know what he's doing out there on the field. The Chiefs are favored by 12.5 points. 48.5 points total for total points, and I'm taking the points on this one. I think the Chiefs have a convincing win, and yeah, I think it's gonna be a pretty dominating win for the Chiefs. Maybe we'll finally see that offense come to life this week.
This you know what, it could very well be the get right game for the Chiefs. So far for the Bears defense, they've allowed a lot of passing yards and a lot of success to Jordan Love and Baker Mayfield, the two opponents that they faced in the Bears and the Bucks in the first 2 weeks. Now you get the best quarterback in the NFL in Kansas City. Now I will say this, we're either going to see Justin Fields have a better game and maybe see some life, or it's going to be more of the same. It's nowhere in between here, and it's such a mess in Chicago. But Kansas City this seems like a get right game. I'm with you with KC. I think that they win, and they win comfortably.
Yeah. Next one is Saints Packers. This is going to be a really interesting game to watch. Nobody really knows who's going to win this game. The Packers are favored slightly by 1.5 points. I don't know who's going to take this one either, my man. I mean, you got the Saints that are 2-0. You got the Packers who have had some challenges, but then also looked really good. They looked really good against the Bears. They did look good against the Falcons as well for 3 quarters. This one's a tough one. I will say that the way that I watched the Saints play against the Panthers on Thursday night was not really a confidence booster for me. So I'm going to take the Packers on this one. Yeah, I think it could be very much a toss up, but I'm going to take the Packers regardless.
I love what the Packers and Jordan Love have, and I'm a big believer. This is his toughest test as far as facing this defense. The Saints defense is extremely challenging.
Yeah.
And they're able to bring pressure. They're able to have solid coverage, but also they are very tough against the run. So for a young quarterback like Jordan Love, and you can't have that run game per se, how can you adapt to it? And that's going to be a test. I'm actually leaning Saints in this one. I'm going to take the Saints because I do think Derek Carr has he's starting to figure things out. They didn't have, by no means has Derek Carr played great football so far in games, but I do like him being around, understanding what's going on. And I think if the Saints can continue to build off of what they've done, I think that they can edge it out because I like their defense where they are right now in their matchup against the Packers.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, we have Commanders Bills. Bills are favored by 6.5 points. This is going to be the true test. Are the Commanders for real or are they frauds? The teams we've seen the Commanders go up against have not been world-class teams. The Bills are. Last week it looked as if Josh Allen figured it out that what we saw from them on week 1 was not the what we're used to seeing from the Bills. Last week it was. I am going to take the Bills on this one outright. I think that it's going to be a pretty convincing win. Total points here 43.5.
Yeah, so I think, to your point, the Commanders now, they're 2-0, but their 2 wins have been by a combined 6 points. And now you got to face a team that is a AFC top contender, hopefully Super Bowl hopeful in Buffalo. I'm with you. I think that Buffalo should win this game, but if they don't, we're going to find out that the Commanders are definitely a team that people should reconsider, because this is by far their toughest challenge. It's Sam Howell. How can he adapt now to this tough Buffalo defense? They have some great pieces. They're running the ball really well with Brian Robinson. If you can do that, it should be a closer game, but I have to see it to believe it.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, we have Tennessee versus Cleveland. And this is going to be something that I think also is going to be a fun game to watch. Cleveland's defense has looked really good over the last 2 weeks. They played the Steelers and they played the Bengals. So they're finally getting out of the division this week, playing the Titans. Now, Titans came off of a tough loss last week against they came up with a tough game winning against the Chargers last week, but it was still a hard fought game. Can they bounce back and it looks even stronger this week? The one thing I will say is passing yards allowed over the last 2 weeks was 305 yards. Rushing yards allowed from the Titans was 65. Can Ford come in and make some noise after Chubb's season-ending injury? That's going to be the big question here. Browns are favored by 3.5 points. I'm going to take the Browns here.
All right. Well, hey, I just was realizing that I feel like I'm wearing a chain, by the way. Maybe I am, but
I'll teach you how to wear those things, man.
Yeah, we're still not there. You guys should have seen me try to put these puppies on last time, but here we go. My first dog pick of the week. I actually had some very good picks with dogs last week. Tennessee was one I took last week. I'm rolling with Tennessee again this week, Brad. And the reason why you just brought up, Tennessee is very good against the run. They have Jeffrey Simmons, one of the best defensive players there. And the Titans know their identity, and they still have their workhorse back in Derrick Henry. I like the coaching staff and Mike Vrabel. This is going to be a challenge now with Cleveland. You don't have your stud Nick Chubb. How does the offense look, and how does it operate with Deshaun Watson not having his all-pro type of running back in the backfield? I trust the Titans in this one. Give me the Titans outright money line to win this game.
All righty. Well, tonight we have San Francisco and the New York Giants going at it this evening. And so right now it looks as if Giants are the underdogs by 10.5 points. That's probably being generous. I think the 49ers go in and absolutely dominate the Giants. I would not be surprised, and maybe it's just me being a prisoner of the moment, but I would not be surprised if we see a similar game to what we saw against the Cowboys as far as the Giants are concerned. That's the sentiment I'm going to have towards the Giants until they change my mind. Yes, they had a great game. They had a huge comeback, and we saw Daniel Jones do his thing. But can they do it again? Can they build on top of that? I just don't know if they're going to do it against arguably one of the best teams in the NFL.
Yep, I will make it short and sweet. The 49ers are going to win this game, and they're going to win it feeling good.
Yeah.
No Saquon Barkley. That defensive line is going to be overbearing for the Giants, and Brock Purdy is still undefeated as a starting quarterback. Give me the Niners. I think they win by 2 scores at least.
Yeah. I think it's going to be easily 2 scores. Next up, we'll have the Cowboys and Cardinals. Cowboys are feeling it today. We had some breaking news from the Cowboys that Trayvon Diggs had a season-ending injury. It was his ACL.
Yep, they believe he tore his ACL. Yep.
Yeah, so he is out. A huge part of the defense there. Obviously, Micah Parsons is an absolute force, but he can't do it all by himself. Trayvon Diggs is a huge loss for them. They are favored, though, still by 12.5 points. Cardinals are not going to win this game, even without Trayvon Diggs. I'm going to take the Cowboys in this one. And 42.5 points. I'm going to take the points on that as well.
So you're taking the over on the points. I think the Cowboys defense is so loaded. It hurts that they lose Diggs, but they still have Micah Parsons who can just go and do absolutely everything possible. He was even joking about maybe trying to get tight end reps, haha, whatever it may be, but they roll. That team overall is built, and the Cardinals are not. So I like Dallas. I like them to win handedly. We'll give it the over. We'll give it the over too. Why not? Points galore.
Look, I mean, what's not to love and be in the overs club? Okay, next up we have Steelers Raiders, and this one I hope it doesn't turn into like a suck bowl because I really want to see a good game. This is a Sunday night game. I believe it's Sunday night. It's a Sunday night game. Another night game for the Steelers. So Sunday night game. The Raiders are 1-1. So are the Steelers. Interestingly, the Steelers have allowed 420 420 total yards. Passing yards allowed 227 and 193. This is going to be an interesting one. We're going to tear into this game in a little bit, but man, defense seems to be there. Offense is a whole other story as far as the Steelers are concerned. The Raiders also still just questionable. Vegas doesn't know what to do here either. But the Raiders are favored by 2.5. I am going to take the Raiders on this one as well.
Yeah, the Steelers are such a different team, especially when they play at home and play against opponents from their own division at home.
Yeah,
I think the Raiders. This is a game that they have to win. They're at home. I'm with you. I think they find a way. We'll save it for later with the offenses, but give me Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm to pull out a victory in Vegas.
Yeah, the next one's going to be really quick. It's Dolphins, it's Broncos. Dolphins are favored. No shocker there. Dolphins walk away with this one. It should be an easy game for them. Walk in the park. The Broncos are just an absolute mess. The absolute mess. I will say the rushing attack is pretty good. They've only allowed 91.5 yards through the first two games, but Raheem Mostert showed up against the Patriots, and I will say that you can argue that the Dolphins don't even need a run game right now because they're just throwing the ball, slinging the ball everywhere. So I think that it's pretty convincing win here for the Dolphins. They are favored by 6.5 points, though. That's it.
I think this might be Denver's last best shot. They're going to keep competing, but as far as keeping your season hopes alive, they might try to throw a punch and try to keep going here. But the Dolphins are the better team. They're the team with continuity and not this cloud of doubt hanging over them. Dolphins should win this game. But I do think that the Broncos are going to put up somewhat more of a fight than expected.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, I guess Sean Payton at some point is going to get together with Russ Wilson, right? That's got to happen. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, and then we have an AFC East matchup between the Jets and the Patriots. It feels like a must-win game. I mean, last week it certainly felt like that way, and it feels even more like that this week. Can you imagine an 0-3 Patriots, Ryan? They are underdogs against the Jets by 2.5 points. Looking at some of their stats here, Patriots have allowed only 273 passing yards, and that's after facing the Dolphins. I think I'm going to take the dogs here.
Yes, I think the Pats win this game. I think unless it's either Zach Wilson gets over his woes against the Patriots, which he very well could, but it's just so unthinkable that the Patriots could fall to 0-3, and especially with how their defense is constructed. Give me the Pats in this one. I think it's going to be an ugly game, though, for both teams.
Yeah, I don't imagine this one's going to be a fun one to watch. Up next, we got the Seahawks and Panthers. Panthers really didn't do much, although there were some bright spots with Bryce Young. I don't know what to think of him yet. I don't know if I have.
Well, and also Bryce Young is out for this game. He just got announced that more than likely he's going to be ruled out for this game. So we're not going to even get to see him. We're not going to even get to see him. So Andy Dalton will start. which that's a veteran quarterback, but I think we're going the same way here. It's safe to say we feeling
Yeah.
Seahawks at home.
Yeah. Seahawks are favored by 6.5. No doubt about it in my mind that the Seahawks walk away with this one.
I'm with you. I think that 6.5, they should win by a score. I think the Panthers have a solid defense, but there's too many good parts of Seattle where I don't think they drop a second home game to start the season, which then leads us to the last one then, Brad. Rams and Bengals in Cincy.
That's going to be the Monday night game.
So we're gonna cover that later. My bad. I forgot there's 2 Monday night games. How
I
about
know.
that? Whammy.
I don't know if I like it or not.
I don't know if I like it either.
Not sure if I'm a fan of two Monday night games, but nevertheless, make sure you guys are tuning in. Hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up to get our reactions and our predictions for Monday night's game. We'll be live on Monday as well to go over everything that happened over the weekend, plus give our predictions for Monday nights. Make sure you got to be subscribed to get to hear us again on those predictions. So make sure you guys are doing that. Next up, bro, what's going on with Justin Fields?
Man, the Bears right now, there's a lot going on. I think it's safe to say
Yes.
and not in the way that you hope for. This was a time, if you were a Bears fan, that this was taking this next step, this exciting chapter, not only for your franchise, which you hoped Justin Fields could be a franchise quarterback. Some were saying an MVP type candidate. Aaron Rodgers is gone. You think things are changing. And then the team starts 0-2. Then you have a situation with your defensive coordinator where he resigned, and there's so many rumors swirling. And then we have a clip here of it even stirring the pot more of Justin Fields explaining. He was asked a question on why he feels that the team or himself is having some struggles.
Yeah. So just to set the tone here, there's been quite a few things swirling around Justin Fields. There was a couple of videos that surfaced about last week's game and how he hesitated so much around, when it came to making decisions, when he was going through his progressions, and it took, an upwards of five seconds to release that football. And in the NFL, that's an eternity. So, just you could see that he was struggling, and it felt as if almost he was distracted. And many pundits out there were talking about Justin Fields getting into this analysis paralysis, and so he was asked about this. And so here was his initial response. We're going to go through certain stages here because there's some backpedaling, and then there was some face saving on this as well. So let's just watch this first clip on what he said initially about his performance over the last 2 weeks.
Things that I didn't like, I felt like, I wasn't necessarily playing my game. Felt like I was kind of robotic and, not playing like myself. So, my goal this week is just to, say F it and just go out there and, play football how I know how to play football. And that includes thinking less and just going out there and, playing off of instincts rather than just of so much, so to say, info in my head, data in my head, and literally just going out there playing football. I mean, just going back to it's a game, and that's it, because that's when I play my best is I'm just out there playing free and being myself. So I'm gonna say kind of just bump all the what I should do, what I this and that, like pocket stuff. Like I'm gonna go out there and be me. So yeah.
When you are playing the way when you're playing like yourself, what does that look like?
We'll see. So
when you say thinking less, what do you think was causing you to think so much, maybe think too much?
Could be coaching, I think. But at the end of the day, it makes it they're doing their job when they're giving me, what to look at and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I can't be thinking about that when the game comes. I prepare myself throughout the week, and then when the game comes, it's it's time to play free at that point. So just thinking less and playing more.
Hey Justin, we've heard this before from other athletes. There are just too many coaching voices in your head at this point that you're trying to process so much. Is that part of what you're saying?
I don't think it's too many coaching voices, but I just think when you're fed a lot of information at a point in time, and you're trying to think about that info, like when you're playing, it's like it doesn't let you play like yourself. You're trying to process so much information to where it's like, if I just simplified in my mind, I would have did this. Like I saw a few plays on Sunday to where if I was playing like my old self, like we would have had a positive play. Like there would have been, a few more
All
third
right,
down
so
conversions. So
just
um,
I wanted to break that down real quick. So the media kind of took that and ran with it a little bit, and it did feel to me, based off of what he was saying, that he was putting at least a little bit of responsibility on the coaches. And whether you agree with that or not, probably not the best look from Justin Fields as far as that initial response. What do you think about that, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's with Justin Fields and the whole situation. I think it's evident that things have not gone according to plan. And
Right.
there's a lot of frustrations. There's a lot of stress because it's evident that Justin Fields is talented, but then it's also evident that things aren't working out. Is that a combination of the coaches aren't putting you in the best position all the time? Yes, that could be the case. But is there other cases where you yourself are not making enough plays in the scenario and the situation? Yes. And part of that, you brought up analysis by paralysis. He definitely looks like a guy that's overthinking. And instead
Yeah.
of his skill set of using his legs and trying to improvise more or to just be a dual threat, the Bears haven't used him for his legs as much this year, to be honest. Packers did a good job containing, but it's a skill set that you need to talk about and you need to address.
I
But
will
it's not.
say,
Yeah,
I
go
will
ahead.
say to that effect that over the last 2 weeks we've seen, uh, you know, two spies on Justin Fields. I mean, we kind of saw that with Lamar Jackson. I wouldn't say that they're figuring Justin Fields out per se, because again, a lot of this is kind of self-inflicted on Justin Fields himself. But there are defenses that are now preparing for him. They kind of taking a page out of the Lamar Jackson book based off of what we saw from Justin Fields' rushing attack last year. So it's not a surprise to me to see that he's not rushing as much. But for him to go basically from, 100 to 0 is certainly a bit of a surprise up to this point. Now, I did want to go into the next part of this, that Justin Fields did backtrack a little bit to try to clarify what he actually meant. So here's what he was saying to reporters today.
Guys' jobs are to get clicks, so it's like when you take my quote out of context, when you just say that, if you paint the picture on the inside out, like y'all are trying to split us up as a team. I'm not blaming anything on the coaches. I'm never gonna blame anything on the coaches. Never gonna blame anything on my teammates. I will take whatever happens in the game. I will take all the blame. I don't care if it's a drop pass. It should have been a pass. Put it on me. But never will you hear anything come out of my mouth to where I will blame it on somebody else in this organization. My teammates, never will you hear that. So I just want to clear that up and just know that, like, I need to play better. That's it, point blank. If y'all, that's what I should have said in the first place. But I was trying to give y'all more details because I appreciate y'all for doing what y'all do, and I try to give y'all the information y'all want for you guys' job. So I'm gonna do that, and in the future, but I ask you guys just to put the whole quote out. Don't cut it up into words and pieces to make it seem like I'm saying something that I'm not. So again, appreciate you guys what you do, and y'all have a blessed day. That's it.
All right. So for me personally, based off of that response, I don't know if necessarily, and I guess maybe it depends on who was reporting what, but based off of what Justin Fields had said in that first part, he talked about the coaches. He talked about the coaching. And when he was asked the question, so if he wasn't trying to place any responsibility on them, the coaches shouldn't have even come out of his mouth. So for him to be like, you took it out of context, maybe part of that's true, but like, you don't say anything about it. Like, if you truly didn't mean it, then don't bring them up in the first place.
Yeah, I think he was trying to be descriptive, but he was way too descriptive, and that's just one of the things that you, as a player, it's just going to get twisted if you use anything that's talking about coaching and scheme, and there's any type of inclination that it's something, there's some other issue with why the team's not having success. It's going to come off bad, even if that's not your intention. And that's exactly what happened here. And when I played and everything happened, we had to be very careful with what we said and what we talked about. And
Sure.
That's just, I guarantee you, someone mentioned that to him. He wanted to clear the air. I still love everything that he's doing. I hope the Bears bounce back. I really do. But man, it's just been it's been a rough week for the Bears. It's been a rough season so far for the Bears. And time is now going to, it's getting closer and closer now to figure out if Justin Fields is going to be the answer for the Bears. And right now, if we were going to say it at this moment, it's looking like the Justin Fields Chicago Bears marriage is not looking like it's going to last.
Well, I don't know. They were seen hugging it out today. So maybe they're making up. We'll see. But nevertheless, that's your story on the Justin Fields thing. Look, for me, bottom line is that, yeah, to your point, just if you really truly want to take blame, just say that it's all on you. We saw that from Josh Allen, right? He wasn't pointing the finger at anybody else but him after that Jets game. And so, I think just shows the maturity between those two quarterbacks just based off of that example alone. So moving on, we got a lot that we wanted to get through. Hopefully we can get through most of it, but I really did want to talk about this Nate Burleson, Ryan Clark kind of back and forth about Nick Chubb. If you guys didn't catch, if you live under a rock, Nick Chubb had a season-ending injury. It was pretty gruesome, and there were some really interesting takes. One of them was from Nate Burleson talking about how he felt as if what Minkah Fitzpatrick did was actually, kind of a dirty hit. So just to give you context here, I wanted to share this tweet by Ryan Clark, and this is kind of like what sparked it all. So right here's the tweet. And so Ryan Clark says, if a defender goes high and a player gets concussed, he's dirty. If a defender goes low and a player gets a lower extremity injury, he's dirty. Where can he hit a runner then? The growing softness of this game and the sensitivity of those who watch it saddens me. Obviously, Ryan Clark, huge defender. Then Nate Burleson comes out and says, RC, I know I love you like a brother. So this mean this was all due respect, but he says that you're wrong. So he went on to say, if your response is he didn't know Chubb was already being tackled, then pick your head up. He didn't want to go too high. Well, then aim for multiple areas above the knee and below the head, like his hips, ribs, or shoulder. Chubb is a power back, so it takes multiple guys to bring him down. Fine, but let's apply the same chop block rules like we do in the trenches. To me, look, I'm in 100% in Ryan Clark's camp here. If you watch that play back, there's just no way that Minkah Fitzpatrick is actually going to be able to do anything about that play. Like, where else are you supposed to tackle Nick Chubb? You had one defender coming at the top half of Nick Chubb, and Minkah was coming down below. It just happened to be really bad timing. And Nick Chubb's leg got caught in the wrong spot at the wrong time. I mean, his whole body went one way, his leg went the other. I don't think that there's really anything there, in my opinion, that says that that Minkah was a dirty player or that was a dirty hit whatsoever.
No, I think in general, it's I've said this phrase, it's damn if you do, damn if you don't. And so many things get brought up into the wrong scenarios, and football is a violent sport and it sucks. And there's no malicious intent behind Fitzpatrick's hit, and it's just the reality of how the game works. And, I think the biggest part that stinks is that the NFL is just losing a star player. That's right. It. You're losing another star player, another guy down. You've seen on back-to-back Monday nights, you saw Aaron Rodgers go down, which was another very gruesome thing for fans to watch. And then to see Nick Chubb have a just as devastating type of an injury, it just sucks. And there's nothing, I don't think they're wrong saying either way, because you want to protect players. But at the same time, in real time, do people understand how quickly things are going?
Yeah. Watch that play back.
Hard.
Tell me how you avoid that. I really just don't.
And Chubb's a monster. Chubb's a monster. So that's kind of it. And I know unfortunately, Brad, I might have to wrap up sooner because of apparently there's a hurricane watch here in Baltimore.
Yeah, it's tropical storm. Yeah.
What the hell does that mean? But I think that's been affecting then where I'm trying to go next. So that's why I might have to wrap up myself here. Okay. Unfortunately, bummed with it, but I cannot miss my flight.
No,
so
you cannot. All good.
Cool. So whatever you want to do, if you want to keep rocking and rolling and roll it out, all you, but your boys got to make a flight. And if not, you'll just find me in the harbor.
No, that's okay. We can go ahead and wrap it up, guys. Sorry for cutting this short. We did have a couple of things that we wanted to get to, but maybe we can get to them in our next show. No, Ryan, safe travels, my man. And guys, for those of you watching, thanks for tuning in. Of course, make sure you hit that like button, hit that thumbs up. We certainly would appreciate that as well. And hit that notification bell and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We'll be back Monday and to cover everything that happened over the weekend and then get ready for Monday Night Football. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Have a safe weekend. Stay dry out there, and we'll see you Monday.
You stay classy. See you guys.